All right, today we're going to continue our concepts from yesterday, which were on calculating simple interest and future values. So again, you can be taking notes on notebook paper. You'll need a calculator or at least your phone to use your calculator or a Chromebook. So today we're just going to see some issues where maybe our variables aren't in the proper form that we need. So for example 1, a loan of $1,060 has been made at 6.5% for 3 months. Find the loan's future value. So based on what they've told me, I have my principal, my rate, my time, and I'm looking for my loan's future value, which remember that is our A value. Now the big problem with this question is that our time is in months. This needs to be in years, not months. So we need to convert 3 months into years by thinking about how many months are in a year, which is 12. So we just need to make this 3/12 of a year. So our P is 1,060. Our R as a decimal is 0.065. And our time then is 3/12 or 1/4 or 0.25. We're looking for A. So plugging those into our formula, and I just left it 3/12 because sometimes you won't get a decimal that's nice and pretty. And you can literally just type that straight in your calculator as you see it. 1,060 times 1 plus 0.03 times, and then usually for the fractions I do, it's 0.065. I usually do put them in parentheses, so I do 3 divided by 12 and close it off. And that gets me $1,077.23. Again, always round to the nearest hundredths, please. Our next one says you borrow $2,500 from the bank and promise to pay back $2,655 in 6 months. What simple interest rate? So our $2,500, would that be our P or would that be our A? Is it our present value or our future value? Right, it's our present value. So P is $2,500. In the future, we promise to pay back that amount, so that's A. And then again, this 6 months, this is a problem for us. We can't plug in 6 for T, that would be 6 years. So we need to make this 6/12 or 1/2. What is R? So plugging in our values, 2,655 goes in on the left, 2,500 on the right, and then I did make this 1/2, I reduced it, but you're more than welcome to use 0.5 instead. And then again, my first step is usually to divide. I actually undo this multiplication with division. If you don't like that, you are welcome. You can distribute it. That will work. It's just a little longer. But I usually divide first, which will get me 1.062 on the left equals 1 plus 0.5R. Make sure you don't add these two things together. These are not like terms. So we cannot make it like 1.5R, for example. We can, however, undo addition of 1 with subtraction of 1 on both sides, which gets me 0.062 equals 0.5R. And then we'll undo multiplication with division. Now, and I did this, I actually converted it in my head, so let's just double check. 0.062 divided by 0.5. Gets me 0.124, and then we convert that back to a percentage. So I multiplied by 100 or moved the decimal 2 spaces in my head, 12.4%. We are skipping the discounted loans. If anyone looked ahead at the notes on Classroom, we are not doing those this year. So our last few examples, you guys can try on your own. So if you'd like to, go ahead and pause the video. If you think you need more instruction, go ahead and pay attention while we're going over. Biggest mistake I see with students is picking the wrong formula. So this one actually spells out what everything is, and we can see that we're looking for the I variable, which means you have to use the formula that has I in it, which is I equals PRT. Plugging in our values, be careful, T is not allowed to be in months. So this needs to be 6/12 instead of 6. So 500 times 0.03 times 6/12 or 1/2. And that should yield us $7.50. Example B, again, go ahead and pause the video if you would like to try this one on your own. If not, go ahead and keep listening. This one, notice we have P and A, which tells me to use this formula specifically. Again, T is in the wrong form. It's in months. So we're going to let T be 7/12. Now, if you type 7/12 in your calculator, you're going to get a weird decimal. You don't want to round this, okay? So when you're plugging this into the formula, leave it as 7/12 of fraction instead of rounding that decimal. So I'm actually going to show this one a little bit differently than I did in the notes. But plug in our values first. 1750 on the left, 1500 on the right, 1 plus r times 7/12. Now you can see what I did here is I distributed. I have not been showing that in the lessons thus far. I've been showing just the division. So let's go ahead and divide both sides by 1500. Now we are going to get a weird decimal, and that's okay as long as we just leave it in our calculator and don't round it. So 1750 divided by 1500. Now do not round this, okay? So I'm going to just type down a couple of the numbers, but I'm going to leave it all in my calculator. Okay, so that's what I have on the left. On the right, I have 1 plus r times 7/12 still. We still need to undo then addition with subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 1 on both sides of the equal sign. So in my calculator, I'm just going to leave that big long decimal and I'm going to press -1, which will get me 0.1666, repeating. Equals r times 7/12. Now, you have two options. You can either divide by 7/12 on both sides, or you can multiply by the reciprocal, which would be 12/7. Since you have a calculator, I just suggest division. When you divide, you will need a parenthesis around the 7/12. We should get this, 0.2857, which then if we move our decimal 2 spaces, we should get 28.6%. Just make sure not to round at all throughout the process. Just leave all of those long decimals just sitting in your calculator till the very end. Otherwise, you'll be slightly off. All right, we've now reached the end of our video lessons for the week. Your assignment is to complete the 8.2 homework and post pictures to Shobi. These are pages 458 to 459, which I posted online, numbers 2 through 6, 9 through 11, and so on. Once you are completed with those and post them to Shobi, you also can complete the 8.2 mini quiz on Google Classroom. It is worth 10 points. You may use your notes, your formula, and your calculator. Good luck!